I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. Pleasure to have you here with us in London for the film festival. If you could begin with a brief introduction, tell us a bit about Queendom and what people can expect when they watch it.
So, hello, I'm Agnia. I'm a director of feature-length documentary Queendom. The film is about Jenna, a Russian queer artist who is redefining beauty in this world, but also fighting Russian government with her art, and therefore had to flee the country.
And tell us a bit about the genesis of the project. Where did you originally have the spark of the idea, and why did you want to tell the story? Why did you want to make the film?
Originally, it's supposed to be a docu-series about several drag queens, but when we met with Jenna, mostly I think in the end of my research, I decided to drop off documentary docu-series and to do feature about Jenna solo. And that was, I think, one of the best decisions that I made, because every time when I thought that we reached the highest point, then there was more. And so it's a lot of layers in the story, and there is a very emotional, personal story, but also reflection on today's situation in Russia in terms of LGBTQ plus rights and war in Ukraine. So a lot of things.
And tell us a bit about the journey of making the film itself. What were some of the highlights? What were some of the challenges? What sort of time period were you working over?
So we shot for a bit over than 2 years, and on and off. But the highlights, I guess, were going to Jenna's hometown, because it's a very special place. It's in the far, far east of Russia. It's close to Japan. When you see it on the map, between Moscow and Magadan, there is 8 hours difference, and it's still the same country. So for me, I never been there, and was first of all just curious how it is. The place is not really friendly. It's a very homophobic and racist place, but it also has a very strong history. Because all the concentration camps in Soviet Union were built there during Stalin times. So people there carrying the historical weight of it. They're sort of say like descendants of the prisoners, and to find a person like Jenna there was a sign of that this world still can create some people that ready to change, to bring some change, because she is extremely free, against all the odds.
And, ultimately, what do you hope people will take away from watching the film?
Well, from one hand, I hope that the younger generation, especially I would love that Russian younger generation, would see the story and to feel supported, feel that they don't need to hide, and there is a safer and better place for them to live freely. But also the elder generation might see the film and maybe something would click in their minds to accept more things. And yeah.
How do you, I guess, see the role of film in kind of exposing issues and throwing a spotlight on them and potentially provoking change?
I hope that our little small documentary will bring some changes. And I was in South Korea, and there was a man in the audience, after we finished the Q&A and people could ask questions. So he was the first one to raise an arm, and it's an old Korean guy, and he was all by himself. And the only thing he said that it was very painful to watch the film, because he realized that he is the grandfather of Jenna. And for me, it was just a gift to hear that. That's why you make a movie. And I'm so happy that it reached out so far, because if after the film he is coming back home and change, I don't know, his relationship with whoever, he is to grandfather to, that's the beauty, and that's the power of bringing change to the world, so to say. I mean, it's a big words, but...
And what does it mean to you to have your film here at London Film Festival?
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, it's one of my best experiences so far, because the festival is great. It's such a big deal to be here, and but everyone is so nice, and everything is well organized, and the audience is amazing. We had a full house, both screenings, and first one was with standing ovation, and people were just after we had a lot of talks, and I keep meeting people on the street, and they stopped me and saying that they were at the screening, and it was meaning so much to see this film, and for me it means the world.
And do you feel like, I feel like we're living in a bit of a strange time in that quite often we're saying like, oh, you know, it's 2023, how much we've progressed, you know, in terms of acceptance of people of different identities and orientations. But then other times I feel like it's one step forward and two steps back, particularly here in the UK, like the government that we have in place right now. Do you think that maybe a turning point, or it's something that you have to kind of be vigilant about and not just sort of be too complacent about the progress we've made? Something you have to keep shouting about and keep talking about.
I would definitely have to keep talking and keep making whatever you can, movies, photography, statements, protests, because it kind of feels like we're growing, and I mean, as a society, but in the same time, I think there is a tendency to go back in times that we thought it's like over. In Russia, it's completely like, it's not 2 steps back, it's like 15 steps back. And now in Russia, we're living times that I thought it's just in the movies, you know. I never thought that I'm going to live in a time when it's war actively happening. And I never thought that we're going to be back to the same situation when you're not allowed to walk on the street hand by hand with your partner if you're queer, because you're going to get arrested. You know, it's something that was like from the very, very past. And we're drastically falling into this back. And I think it's not only in Russia. I mean, in Russia, it's a bit more progressively happening, but I guess in many countries it's similar situation.
And do you already know what you might work on next after this? Have you got another project in the pipeline?
Yes, so we are working now on a feature film, on the script, and it's a story about also search of identity, and it's partially based on my story, but like just to start with something. And I mean, it's a reflection on childhood traumas, which is going to be told in a fairy tale way, because it's a magical realism. So it's kind of colonial fairy tale.
Sounds amazing. Well, I can't wait for that one as well. Thank you so much for sharing all that with me. I really enjoy presenting a film here in London. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.